multidisciplinary teaching and research and hosted scholars and students from across backgrounds and countries. And this is also incorporated in the new education policy, that there should be multinational universities, there should be multi-subject universities, multidisciplinary teaching should be there, and the university should not be kept alone in some specific area, but their boundary should be the whole world, and the country boundary should not be there for them. So the ancient, if you see the ancient Indian system of education valued the pursuit of knowledge with the sole objective of utilizing it for the welfare of the humanity. And the main aim was, let all be happy, let all be healthy, let all see good around, and let none suffer pain of any kind. This was the motto. Could there be a better comprehension of the essential unity of human beings as one family? And in a family, differences and diversities are accepted and respected. So this is the beauty of the family, the good family, that there are differences, there are diversities, but they are accepted and they are respected. This is what the NEP has imbibed in word and spirit. Once the NEP 2020 is implemented appropriately, no Indian shall remain dealing from uh, India. Every learner would be exposed to modern knowledge, and that would be given to him, her, in institutions following the most modern pedagogy and with due emphasis on critical thinking, creativity, and innovations. It would aim at developing a student's full human potential. The new education policy broadly covers the basic idea of the vision as articulated by the Government of India in its General Budget Session 2020, where the Finance Minister has mentioned to focus on the government is on aspirational India, economic development for all, and caring society. These are the three important points in his lecture in the budget session, in the session 2020. Education has evolved like never before during this pandemic, which became an opportunity to disguise for younger learners while on our lives became socially distanted. We interestingly connected with each other and much more, and meaningfully made relations in this global village, which is created by the virtual environment, and uh, learning evolved into a whole new experience. Parents are very, very important here in the new education policy. Parents are the first teachers and role models of child, and they are more effective in encouraging their children in the journey of holistic development. So education of the parents is very, very also important. Uh, if you see, this policy paves way to achieve this dream by its implementation. The salient features of the this policy, new education policy, includes. I will just point out some salient features before I close. The first one is the policy makes every childhood care and education for children in the 3 to 6 year age group and in integral part of school education, as a large part of the child brain is developed prior to 6 years of age. छोटे बच्चे अगर कोई जुड़े हों तो मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि वो दिन लग गए जब एक भारी बस्ते के साथ आपको स्कूल भेजा जाता था और आपकी पीठ झुक जाती थी, पढ़ाई आप कम करते थे और एक सामान लादने वाले व्यक्ति के रूप में आपका आगे विकास होता था, आपकी रीढ़ की हड्डी मुड़ती थी और आपकी पढ़ाई तो कम होती थी, लेकिन एक बोझ आपके सिर पे और आपके कंधे पे हमेशा रहता था। वो दिन अब लग गए और अब आपको सब्जेक्ट्स को पढ़ने को मिलेगा, ये सभी का ज्ञान प्राप्त होगा। बहुत कम बस्ते के साथ आपको स्कूल जाना होगा। तो ये बात मैं यहाँ पर छोटे बच्चों से कहना चाह रहा था, अगर जुड़े हों यहाँ। और then the second point is it gives priority to imparting foundational literacy and numeracy by the child. It enters the third grade. Currently, children arrives in the third grade or higher classes without these skills due to poor curriculum. And then the new education policy ends the separation of school curriculum into science, arts, and commerce. Instead, it allows students to take courses across these fields. This is important. Then vocational education is part of a regular school curriculum. It will improve the skill of the workforce in future. Then National Assessment Center for performing assessment, review, and analysis of knowledge for holistic development is also made in this, which is known as Parakh. Parakh, Parakh. So then exam grades 3, 5, 8, in addition to board exam grades 10 and 12. Then new curricula and pedagogical framework of 5, 3 plus 2 plus 4. Then 100% gross enrollment ratio in school education by 2030. It means that we will not leave any student, any child in the home throughout the day. The child will definitely go to the school. Then right but tight regulation by a single body for promotion of higher education will be adopted. Then Higher Education Commission of India, HECI, will be created, and this body will function with 4 independent bodies. Then degrees will be of 4 years, although the degree is already for 4 years in many universities like ours, like Pantnagar, and degrees of 4 years. But usually in traditional university, degrees of 3 years. So degree will be of 4 years. If someone completes 1 year, he will get a certificate of the subject. And if 2 years he completes, then he or she will be given diploma. And if he reads for 3 years, then he will be given degree program. And if he wants to go into research and read some more courses, then his program will be of 4 years and honorary degree, or we can say the graduation with honors will be given to him. So this is a new system made in this, because at present, if somebody leaves the college at 1 year, first year, then he gets nothing. 2 years he gets nothing. In third year also he gets the degree only. Then for setting standard setting, there is the General Education and Professional Standard Setting Body. Bodies are formed. PSSBS name is given. And the most important problem which we are getting, we are facing in higher education these days, whether state universities or central universities, that is of funds. And we are not getting ample of funds or sufficient funds even to even cater our scientific needs. So for funding of the higher education institutes, Higher Education Grants Council, HEGC, will be created. This is welcome step, because without money nothing can be done. And in research, the money is very much needed. And those countries who invest in research, they are far ahead of us, like America, like many European countries also. They are investing good money in research, even the 6%, 7%, 12% of the GDP, and they are investing in research works. Then accreditation. For accreditation, there will be National Accreditation Council, NAC, will come into existence. Nowadays, we have NAC and AAC, which sees that the work is going on exactly or not. But there are so many agencies. In ICR, we are assessed by ICR. Our forestry college is assessed by ICFRE. But then all will be replaced by NAC, National Accreditation Council. Then for regulation of higher education, Higher Education Regulatory Council (NHERC) will be created. So these points are very, very important. Then establishment of credit bank. This is very, very important for especially women, girls after marriage or before marriage. They are in the first year or second year, and then they leave the education and go to a new setup of environment, and then after 2 years or 3 years, if she wants to complete her degree, so she has to start fresh. So the credits which she studied prior, so they will be kept in credit bank, and whenever she will start fresh again, then she will start completing the degree again. They will be taking admission again. Then these credits will be added. So this is a very, very good step, especially in India, where this is needed. Secondly, for our soldiers in the border area, two important things are there. One is this credit bank, where they get only leave for 6 months, so they can complete some courses, and then after 2 years again they get education leave for 6 months. They can complete some courses, and like that they can complete their degree. And second is distance education. Distance education is very, very important. If a soldier wants to come to enhance his educational qualification, so this is very good for as far as Indian atmosphere is concerned. Then professional education will be integral part of the higher education. So every professional education, whether it is medical or technical. Then standalone technical universities, health universities, agriculture universities will become multidisciplinary institutions. Today, I am saying that my university is University of Horticulture and Forestry, but tomorrow this will not be only University of Horticulture and Forestry. I have to teach. I have to open BA also. I have to open BSc also. I have to open MBA also. I have to open so many courses. So it will be multidisciplinary, and this will enhance the capacity of the industry. Certainly will go beyond our limits, and if the funds are available, then this will be very, very helpful in making India a very, very successful country in the future. Then public and private higher education institutions. There are public and private institutions are so many in India, and some industries are doing very good. Some private industries. So public and private higher education institutions will be governed by the same set of norms, because some are not doing good. So they will be governed by the same set of norms for regulation and accreditation and academic standards. Then Sanskrit and all Indian languages will be promoted, and separate institution and departments will be established to promote Pali, Persian, and other important languages. So this is also very, very important, and this inclusion of education in Sanskrit was the dream thought of Dr. Nisank. And when we were discussing the national education policy at Delhi in his office very before the draft was planned, so he said that Sanskrit must be there, and there is in Sanskrit knowledge is enormous, and one should not forget this. Then higher education institutions will be transformed into multidisciplinary universities and colleges and higher education clusters or knowledge hubs. Then and open and distance learning are expanded throughout online courses and digital repositories and credit-based recognition. Then mm, integral part should be the character building then of the students, then integrity of faculty and institutions leadership will be affirmed, then all the institutions will have academic and administrative autonomy. This is very, very important because these days the autonomy is only for writing in the papers. The autonomy is not there, and that hampers the development of the educational institution. So autonomy is very, very important for the universities. Then internationalization of education will allow the entry of foreign universities and promote mobility of faculties and students. Yeah, you know, every year lakhs of students moves overseas for higher education. Majority moves to US and UK, resulted into flow of Indian currency to other countries and leads to brain drain and migration of Indian youths. This is good that they are taking education at foreign universities, but when they take education from foreign universities, they do not come to India. So they serve there. And if you see in USA, most of the technical posts they are headed by Indians. So because they they are they are well educated. So for India, the brain drain is not good, and if the education level will be very, very good in India, then students will not go outside and other students from other countries they will come. Like when they were coming at Takshila or Beverly and other institutes long back. Then in 2017, the Commerce Ministry shared a strategic paper with External Affairs and HRD Ministry mentioning the recommendation of NITI Aayog 2015, advocating the internationalization of Indian education to earn foreign currency. The revival of the Foreign Educational Institution Bill was one of the action points of Commerce Ministry strategy paper, and NITI Aayog 2015 decision was behind this point of internationalization of education in India. Then finally, the changes have been incorporated under this new education policies about the internationalization of education, and this is before you. The policy, if you see NEP 2020, the policy is mainly based on the principle of maximum government, no, minimum government, not maximum government. Minimum government and maximum governance. Minimum government and maximum governance. These days we are facing maximum government, minimum governance. So this will be reversed. So thank you very much for your patient hearing, and thank you, and for inviting me in this important webinar. And I'll be always be happy to be associated with this group. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful insight about NEP, about NEP aspect, especially the practical aspects and the various things which you have shared about NEP, its implementation and way ahead. So once again, we thank you very much for your talk, sir. Now, I just wanted to know, we have next speaker with us, Dr. Chandrasekhar, sir, Dr. B. Chandrasekhar, sir. So if sir has joined, he can respond to me. Dr. B. Chandrasekhar, sir. I think he has not yet joined. I will just call him if he is joining. Otherwise, we have Dr. Pratibha Singh madam with us. So then I will request madam to go ahead with her presentation.
ठीक है.
Patil sir is in an important meeting, so he would be joining after 10 minutes.
ठीक है, ठीक है. आई थिंक प्रतिभा जी आप अपना प्रेजेंटेशन कर लीजिए तब तक. दैट विल बी नाइस. जैसे लास्ट टाइम किया था, मेरी फोकस ऑन द 6 एस्पेक्ट्स एंड स्टेट का अगर कुछ है, दैट विल बी नाइस.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So after listening to the deliberations by today's experts for NEP and the practical aspects regarding the initiatives at the state level, now this presentation is about how NAAC is undertaking the NEP through its framework. So what are the changes which are already introduced in the assessment and accreditation framework of NAAC that I'm going to highlight in this particular presentation. So I have taken a statistics of the state's higher education, wherein we have for Uttarakhand 36 universities and 454 colleges, because these are the very important data points wherein the universities are set to define themselves for the either teaching centric or research centric institutions, and all the affiliated colleges which are now looking forward for transforming towards autonomous degree granting institutions. So the universities, what are the important aspects, what are their specialties they should look forward in order to tune themselves to the direction of the NEP guidelines. So I have also considered the accreditation data to be the part of this presentation for the state. For Uttarakhand, we have total number of accredited universities as 10 and total number of accredited colleges as 62. Why it is important to be having an accreditation done by an accreditation agency like NAAC is because all the policies which are going to come in NEP, there will be some quality benchmark which will be looked upon. So it is very important to have the institutions participation in quality related initiatives like participation in accreditation by NAAC or participation in the ranking frameworks that are available in the country, because these are going to come and for the policies integration, be it the registration in the academic bank of credit or any other initiatives like grants or for the purpose of conversion of institution to autonomous degree granting institution. Other statistics about the state of Uttarakhand, we have 153 government colleges, out of which 251 are private and 55 private added and 196 private unadded colleges. The number of colleges per lakh population is 38. and the average enrollment per college is 634. The GER of Uttarakhand is 40.7 for male and 42.3 for female, and overall we have 41.5. The gender parity index is 1.04. This is the detailed profile wherein we have one central university in Uttarakhand, 4 institutions of national importance, 10 state public universities, 1 state open university, 1 deemed university and private, and 1 deemed university government, and 1 deemed university government added. So we have total 17 state private universities. And if we seek the specialization wise the categories of institution, we have 21 general universities, 2 medical universities, 4 agriculture university, 1 management university, 2 education universities, 3 technical university, 1 fine arts university, and 1 Sanskrit university. Although we cater the needs of the different universities by introducing different types of manual in assessment and accreditation framework. So you will be able to see the different kinds of manual that exist today. Like medical, we have separate manual. For education, we have a separate manual. And for Sanskrit also, we have a separate manual. For the status of Himachal Pradesh, there are 27 universities and 344 colleges. And out of these 27 universities, 8 universities are accredited. Out of 344 colleges, we have 71 colleges accredited by NAAC. If we see the specialization-wise profile, we have 14 general universities, 7 technical universities, and 2 agriculture universities. So now the changes which are going to come in the assessment and accreditation framework of NAAC. As you know, the NAAC presently is following a framework which is called Revised Accreditation Framework. And this revised accreditation framework is made up of criteria. And there are different components of these criteria, which are called key indicators. Key indicators are further delineated into metrics. So this entire framework is a data-driven framework wherein questions related to the quality of the institutions are measured in terms of data. This data has to be supported by different documents, which forms the assessment criteria by NAAC, and we try to assess the data points with the help of a third-party agency, which is called Data Validation and Verification Agency. And the profile and extended profile and QIF are the structural components of the manual, which you will be able to look into. And the 7 criteria that are there in the present assessment and accreditation framework is curricular aspect, teaching, learning and evaluation, research, innovation and extension, infrastructure and learning resources, student support and progression, governance, leadership and management, and institutional values and best practices. So these 7 criteria are there. And inside each of these 7 criteria, we have key indicators which are divided into quantitative and qualitative questions. So what are the changes which we are trying to bring about in the in tune with the NEP is changes in the profile section of the manual. So the because we are talking about 6 different themes for the present NEP, and first of which is multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity approach. So there are questions which are introduced in the manual which belongs to this, and these questions I just will try to sum up. So the first question which says delineate the vision or the plan of the institution to transform itself into holistic multidisciplinary institutions. So all the institutions which belong to monodiscipline, single discipline, they should look forward for conversion into multidisciplinary education by modifying their policies, and how to do that at the policy level that they should start looking at. Delineate the institutional approach towards the integration of humanities and science with the STEM disciplines and provide the detail of the program with the combinations. Does the institution offer the flexible and innovative curriculum that includes the credit-based courses and the projects in the areas of community engagement and services, environment education, and value-based towards the attainment of holistic and multidisciplinary education? What is the institutional plan for offering a multidisciplinary, flexible curriculum that enables the multiple entry and exits at the ends of the first, second, and third years of undergraduate education, while mainstreaming the rigor of the learning. What are the institutional plans to engage in more multidisciplinary research endeavors to find the solutions of the society, most pressing issues and challenges, and describe any good practices which the institution like to introduce to promote the multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary approach in view of NEP. So all the efforts that the institution is planning for their own institutions, they should try to reflect as an answer of these questions, because these are qualitative questions. So as a part of self-study report, the institutions are expected to write the answers within 500 words limit. Regarding the academic bank of credit, the questions that are going to come in the manual is like this. Initiatives taken by the institution to fulfill the requirement of academic bank of credit as proposed in NEP 2020. Whether the institution has registered under ABC, because we are able to see a different website of academic bank of credit, wherein certain eligibility criteria exist for the institutions to register themselves for ABC. So institutions should look forward for the eligibility criteria for registration, and how they are going to implement those things they should do. So the second question is talking about the registration under ABC to permit its learners to avail the benefit of multiple entries and exit during the chosen program. Then the efforts of the institution for seamless collaboration, internationalization of education, joint degree between Indian and foreign institutions, and enable the credit transfer. There are guidelines that are already available on UGC website about the internationalization and also joint degree twinning programs. The institution should start looking at those guidelines, and whatever is possible by changing the statutes, ordinances, etc., they should look forward for those changes and try to reflect or plan out and write about the efforts made in this direction. Then how the faculties are encouraged to design their own curricula and pedagogical approaches within the approved framework, including the textbook, reading material selection, assignment, and assessment, and describe any good practices regarding the implementation of ABCs. Then the next theme, which is in alignment with NEP, is skill development. For skill development, the questions that are going to come is describe the efforts made by the institution to strengthen the vocational education and soft skills of the students in alignment with National Skill Qualification Framework. Then provide the details of the programs offered to promote the vocational education and its integration into mainstream education. Then how the institution is providing the value-based education to inculcate the positivity among the learner, that includes the development of humanistic, ethical, constitutional, and universal human values of truth, righteous conduct, peace, love, non-violence, scientific temper, citizenship values, and life skills, etc. Then enlist the institution's effort to design the credit structure to ensure that all students take at least one vocational course before graduating, engaging the services of industry veterans and the master craftsperson to provide the vocational skills and overcome the gap vis-a-vis trained faculty provisions, to offer the vocational education in ODL blended on-campus modular modes to the learners, and NST's association to facilitate all this by creating a unified platform to manage the learner environments, students and workers, skill mapping and certification. Skill courses are planned to be offered to the students through online and distance mode, and describe any good practices regarding the skill development. This skill development is altogether a different concept in which more practical effort is to be seen. So 60% practical component should be there in the curriculum, and the NSTC's association for centers of granting and developing the curriculum also is very important. So institutions should look forward for introducing skill component by introducing certain certificate and diploma programs compliant with the NSQS QF framework. So all those efforts we are trying to see through these qualitative questions present in our manual. Then the appropriate integration of Indian knowledge systems. So delineate the strategy and the details regarding the integration of Indian knowledge system into the curriculum using both offline and online courses. What are the institutional plan to train its faculty to provide the classroom delivery in bilingual mode? Then provide the details of the degree courses taught in the Indian languages and bilingually in the institutions. Describe the effort of the institution to preserve and promote the following Indian languages such as Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, and classical, tribal, and endangered, etc. Indian ancient traditional knowledge, Indian arts, Indian cultures and traditions. All those efforts are need to be highlighted and shown in the answers given by the institution. Describe any good practices regarding this. Then the focus on outcome-based education. So outcome-based education is not a new concept, and in technical education, it is already there for a longer duration. So we have to change our curriculum in alignment with the outcome-based curriculum framework. So the guidelines are available. Both regulatory bodies have issued the guidelines regarding this. AICT, NBA guidelines are there, and also the UGC guidelines are also there for LOCS. So conversion of the curriculum to outcome-based education, these are measured using these questions. So describe the institutional initiatives to transform the curriculum towards the outcome-based education. Explain the efforts made by the institution to capture the outcome-based education in teaching learning practices and good practices in order to introduce. Many of the institutions will not be able to do these efforts immediately. Therefore, these questions are made qualitative so as to not to impose certain quantitative parameters in order to affect their grading and so, but they should start thinking towards the implementation in days to come. So that's why we have introduced the qualitative questions in the manual. Now, the next one is distance education and online education. So delineate the possibility of offering vocational courses through ODL mode in the institution and describe about the development and the use of technological tools for teaching learning activities and provide the details about the institutional efforts toward blended learning. Describe any good practices of the institutions pertaining to the distance education, online education in view of NEP 2020. So these are some of the initiatives that are there, that are introduced for all the institutions that are going to submit their self-study report and IIQA after 1st December. So please think about it and try to collect the information and try to present these information before applying for the assessment and accreditation by a bank. This is all from my side. Maybe our experts might have joined. So I will hand it over back to Dr. Vinita for taking the series ahead.
Thank you so much, madam, for wonderful highlights on NEP, especially the 6th parameter which you have spoken about. So I hope this would have immensely benefited the audience. Now with us we have Dr. B. Chandrasekhar sir. He has joined with us, and we welcome you, sir, on behalf of NAAC and on behalf of Northern Region team of NAAC. Before I invite you, sir, I'll just read in brief your profile. Your profile is very big, but still I'll try to do justice somehow. So Dr. B. Chandrasekhar, small, is presently the Executive Director, EDCIL, a Government of India enterprise with Ministry of Education. Dr. Chandrasekhar sir is the former Registrar, Homi Bhabha National Institute, Department of Atomic Energy, IIT Delhi, the UNESCO Regional Center for Biotechnology, DPT, the Government of India set up under the auspices of UNESCO. The regional centers serve as a hub for education, training, research and development sector not only for India, including the Asian region at large. He was instrumental in organizing and conducting regional dialogue in science and technology policy in context of Sustainable Development 2015 at Delhi, supported by UNESCO Delhi office. Sir is actively involved in pursuing many projects for the regional center in building the capacity by design and develop integrated masters and PhD programs. He is also involved in Erasmus Mundus programs for Asia region. He has in-depth work experience in India, largely deriving experiences from international research studies working in Africa through preparation of HRD plan for basic education system and technical vocational education system. He has been instrumental in establishing schools, polytechnics, vocational education center in Nepal, Sri Lanka, Joint School of Indo-Mongolia, review of schooling education in line with Indian education system, promotion of Indian education in Mongolia with the aim to establish bilateral relation with both the countries. So, sir, your profile is really like a ocean, and I will have to do a lot of homework to concise it. But by considering the time constraint, I would just say sir has held various positions and served as a member of many committees, and he has immensely contributed for teaching, learning, research, and policy making. So, with this brief introduction, we would like to hear from Dr. B. Chandrasekhar sir. So I invite Chandrasekhar sir to please take over. Please, sir.
Thanks, Vinita, and thank esteemed members for having this dialogue made, discussions made, and I think it's very crucial time. We are talking about national education policy, and the institutions are in the transition phase in terms of not only the consolidating the 50 years of independence, our education system, but addressing the user requirement like student requirement in terms of either employment or in terms of their educational objectives or in terms of overall economic development of the country. So I had made a brief presentation to discuss about the new education policy in the skills perspective. Though I think many of the speakers here have spoken largely on the general new national education policy and how institutions should be able to tune to the requirement of quality perspectives with NAAC, and the NAAC is also being able to change its bring forth the quality aspects. I will, though the presentation is large, but due to constraint of time, I will just speak about the key issues that are relevant in skilling, because the new education policy also takes into account the kind of a cohesive, integrated education system along with skills. As we go along, anybody who is willing to go to and acquire certain skills in terms of earning a credit or earning a certifications, today this is possible. I think we all were educated through the previous system, which were very homogeneous. Only thing is, I had the liberty while I had done basic sciences, but I moved into technology. At the same time, when I went to the technology, from there I had also done into the renewable energy policy, the kind of economics. So it was with where we had been able to focus. But today, I think that system is allowed everywhere. Uh, Vinita, I should be able to share my presentation.
Yes, sir. You have the share option. You just click there, and whatever document you wanted to share, it would be shared. Just click on the share option, sir. Otherwise, you can email it to me. I will share, sir. No problem.
Now, if I click the presentation, it should come, right? I
First,
will
you
share
open the
the.
presentation.
Yeah,
First, you open the presentation. Keep it open. It is coming, sir. It's sharing.
you're able to see now.
We are able to see your screen, sir, but presentation is not yet
Okay.
opened.
The presentation Zoom lo பண்ணணும். It is only asking to share.
Yeah.
Now you are able to share? Now you are able to see?
Yes, sir. We can see one NAAC NEP 2020 SD. You just double click on that. It will open, sir. I think it is in e-drive. Yes, sir.
You're able to see now?
No,
National
sir.
Education Policy. No, no, no. Still you are seeing the icon. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry.
File name is shown. You double click on it, sir. It will open, I think.
एक Zoom meeting में
If I click share, it is only showing the screen.
Yes, sir. It is seen now, sir. Sir, you please unmute yourself.
Okay, apologies for the little bit of hitches. Okay, so as I mentioned, I will be briefly speaking about the skill development perspectives in the national education policy. So briefly, I thought let me tell, due to constraint of time, I will just more on discussions rather than on the PowerPoint. So the vision, as you are aware, many of them are aware, should have gone through the vision of the national education policy. So it's an education system that contributes to an equitable, vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to the learners. So this is a kind of opportunity which allows the learners to move across the system and earn credit, and the whole, I think, institutions needs to frame is in terms of building an academic credit bank and how students can earn credit and get a certification in terms whether it's employment need or education needs and so on. So this system will also be able to develop a sense of respect towards fundamental rights, building constitutional values, bonding with one's country with a conscious awareness. So the entire perspective is to instill skill, values, disposition that support responsible commitment to rights, sustainable development, and living across. So while we are doing this, some of the key principles which will really impinge the skill development is the whole national education policy will give a respect for diversity. Once people from across all learning curriculums can come and earn a credit and go off. So that's the whole perspective. This will respect about the diversity. Then use of technology is going to be the big thing in this current scenario. As we all go through, we have also gone through this entire technology enabled learning systems. And even within the technology, you can see from the conventional mode of being textbooks being available or subject matter being available. Today, we moved into the kind of virtual reality and augmented reality where we are able to do the lab work, etc., on a realistic mode using a computer or a laptop or a smartphone or a tab. So we are moving into that. And it also addresses across all spectrum of learners, whether they are highly intelligent or moderately or in terms of other even Divyang students. So this education policy takes into account the entire learner spectrum. And of course, it addresses the equity and inclusion. Community participation is being more talked about, where students also learn from the local region, the local dialect, and also the whatever the culture and customs which is being included as part of a learning, he brings and learns into the education system, and also again looks at the proper education system. So the concept, while doing this, the kind of conceptual understanding rather than a remote or uh, regular learning is becomes a more of an intent in this particular aspects. The unique capabilities, recognizing their talents across all levels, is one of the key principles which is being considered. Critical thinking and creativity is given more option in terms from the school learners to across a higher kind of learning. So I mean, this also system also allows into building a continuous review system, whether he learns then and there, he does an assessment, understands yes where he stands. Again, in case the learner decides yes, I would like to go back and learn more on that learn on the concept, still this system allows. At the same time, he also earns. So idea is to bring an universal access to education at all levels. So while we are looking at, there are several learning trends, teaching trends, pedagogical uh, bouquet available for the learners. We all integrate the system into various ways. That's what I try to put here. So objective is to ensure access and equity and opportunity for all children at all levels across their learning spheres. So while we are looking at that, it's very important we see that the kind of education system, how it will be in terms of the National Education Policy 2020. On the left-hand side, you can see the kind of formal schooling system, how currently it exists. Now, from this system, from this institutional structure, the transition which the institutions, organization need to address is on the right-hand side, which I had mentioned. So it's basically going to be 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, where 5 years of learning is from the foundation learning. Is what, earlier it was in the preschool, Anganwadis and so on. Now we make it a formal system where up to the age of 6 to 8 years, the child learns and comes to a preparatory stage of 3 years, and the middle school of, say, at that time it was a secondary. Now it's all merged and looking at the higher secondary level of learning in the age group of 14 to 18. So this is a kind of a comprehensive system where the child or people comes to a formal system in terms of whether wherever he or she is, the child is there, she could just merge it into the system. So the challenge for the institutional providers is to transition from the earlier phase to the new phase, which is I think it's almost a merged system nowadays. We all accept to the new policy. I think it should go along. By looking at that with the new system, there is a need for integrating the vocational education across all aspects. As I mentioned in the previous, the vision and the possible principles, how vocational education skills can be integrated into the formal education system is what I try to tell. So we have several modular based learning, and the course curriculum is available modular. Whenever the learner feels yes, I need to go and learn certain things, whether it is in skills or vocational or in terms of culture, in terms of history, they can really go out, learn, put a credit, and bring it to the common framework. So that's the kind of institutional and quality issues which the institutions need to address to the learners, while learner is not disturbed at whole force. So there is a kind of these are the kind of key attributes which I always say it's an attribute which needs to be the system or an institution need to integrate while going through that. Whether it is skill gap analysis, the curriculum shall be always a practice based, where we come across, bring a dynamics put into place, and the learners have learning. And always the open and distance education mode can always be learned. It's not that I know these technology has enabled during the pandemic times. Now today children are learning through their smartphones, so we basically have integrated them into a kind of a distance mode of learning. We don't call it as a completely open education, but yes, it's a distance learning where, okay, today because of pandemics, to the children. Learners don't come to a formal system of a school or a classroom, but yes, at the place where they are able to learn and learn the concept and be able to go through an assessment and earn a credit. I think this is a kind of open system which needs to be well. While we say about skill qualification framework in terms of vocational education, skills training, there is a framework already exists, but yes, we can see that the contents, learning contents in terms of addressing the skill needs has been always through a kind of a laboratory or a workshop experience, but which needs, I think today, the kind of technology enabled system allows you to bring into the augmented reality learning contents as well. So this is a kind of, we know that today the government has taken several initiatives in terms of creating a single platform for pooling out any teachers, pedagogical experts are able to develop a kind of content, and now today this portal is available. I will not dwell much about it, but I think, but there is a need to discuss on this more aspects so that learners are aware that yes, there is a portal where they can access contents and also undergo an assessment and a kind of certification. I think NCRT and the Ministry of Education is already trying to promote this kind of system. But I will not tell, but I think a mention of this is important. As a policy makers, we should be able to make it accessible and integrate as part of the current education system. There is a whole lot of integral concepts which I should not now. I think Vinita, if there is time, we will go into it. Otherwise, I think we will just go across. But this is the kind of, while I have mentioned about structure, the opportunity for vocational education or skills at the school level is very huge. And the opportunity for learners to get into to the skill education system is a kind of encouraging, where students not only learn from book but at the same time have a practical handling techniques, and the technology enabled learning solutions will be always be able to merge across. The challenge for the skill education, this is going to be the challenge, and the institutions who are all engaged in this needs to build up a system which can really well integrate with the formal education system. So while I say also higher education, I think today with massive large scale skill training happening across the sectors, the skill development have taken its structure. This is what briefly I tried to present. This was a paper which I presented in the Maastricht School of Management on skill TVET and skilling in India, where I was got a lot of appreciation, telling that look, this is a comprehensive system wherein a former learner, skill learners, TVET, vocational education learners are able to equate them with the formal education system. I think the kind of the education system we have gone through, the learners have always thought vocational education is something different. The formal education system or the typical university system, college system education is different. While the non-formal, and always I used to define skill development as an employment-oriented skill learning, where any kind of desirous learners come into that system and get a certification. Today, with NSQF in place, earlier it was the National Education Vocational Qualification Framework and National Skill Qualification. Now it's I think one common system that has enabled the formal putting them all at par. This is the kind of system I always present to the present in terms of the integrating, merging skill development, TVET, and the formal higher education system. But this is an indicative figure; it's not so firmed up, but it gives a lot of opportunity to see where the skill development or vocational education can be still improved in terms of institutional performance and the policy making and building quality initiatives. There are a huge number of issues which again needs to be addressed at each level. But I think as we go along, I think we need to build this system. kind of on the extreme right, you will see a kind of primary schooling to secondary schooling, higher. This has evolved over a period of time. Now, as we move along, we are addressing the end users' requirement. So we are trying to change and address and making skill a kind of an integrated system. So by this, I just wanted to say that there is an opportunity for us to bring in a national curriculum framework across all the systems, whether it is early childhood learning or in terms of skill learning, and how skill learning can really merge with the kind of education system, and where we are able to bring in academic credit banks across, and which authority will issue certification in terms of learner requirement. Uh, that is what inconclusive I wanted to mention here. So the entire national education policy framework addresses this in a holistic way, where where it has always looked on the learner requirement in terms of at his own. The national education policy addresses in terms of taking the learning in his own pedagogical way, using mother tongues, language, at the same time address the global issues in terms of language learning, upgrading, moving upwards to in his education requirement. So that's what briefly I mentioned to tell. At least skills I have been able to address in a holistic policy matter. I think that's all from my side, Vinita. When I had looked at all these things, I have always been able to tell the vocational education is a formal system of skill learning, where he also learns through the classroom, practical practical workshop. At the same time, the kind of, okay, he somewhere drops out, at the times gets into the system and learns. So vocational education can be at the school level, at the vocational level, and modular trades and apprenticeship, say, apprentice training program which is currently exists. Also, they can be standalone. Well, I've been always been advocating the principle that skill training has been a structured kind of training. Any learners come into the system, earn a kind of credit or learning qualifications, and get into the kind of employment. So the concept helps to create the scope for employee to develop talent and enhance. At the same time, these learners who have undergone the skill training can also vertically move up into the kind of acquiring higher qualification frame, which is equivalent to any kind of graduate, postgraduate. That's how today we can see BWalk and MWalk, but still we are not able to see the kind of uh, NSQF level 10, which is equivalent to the kind of doctoral kind of level. But yes, you can always get their existing skill acquired into a assessment system and be graded to them kind of an equivalent level. So that's from my side, Vinita. I hope this has been thoughtful to everyone, and I'm sure this discussion would have given enlightenment to the listeners. Thanks a lot, Vinita.
Yes, thank you very much, sir, for insightful discussion about national education policy, special emphasis on skill development, vocational education, etc. So once again, we thank you, sir, for joining with us. Now, Patil sir is also there with us. So, sir, with your permission, shall we go ahead for interactive session?
Ji. Thank you. Yes, Vinita ji. Dr. Chandrasekhar ji,
Yes.
thanks again for joining us.
Dr. Jaya, thanks, Jignath.
Yeah. So we look forward to the questions and answer. Honorable Vice Chancellor is also there. So we are really grateful to him that he is there with us since beginning. So if you have any quick questions, answer.
So request to participants, if you have any questions, especially to professors, vice chancellor, pro vice chancellor, IQAC directors, if you have any question pertaining to NEP, you may please ask. We have experts with us. We have Vice Chancellor Sir Ajit Kumar Karnatak Sir, and we have B Chandrasekhar Sir with us. So if you have any question, and from next side we have Patil Sir and Pratibha Singh Madam. So kindly either you can raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can put up your question in question and answer session. I request ICT team also to help in this regard. If any questions or hand raised are there, please inform.
मुझे तो कोई नहीं दिख रहा है
Very
question.
good afternoon.
Yeah, yes, sir. Please,
Yeah,
please
yeah.
go ahead.
I must appreciate the kind of initiation taken by the NAAC team to basically to educate all of us about NEP, which is one of the major agenda as on today. Actually, we were also doing some studies over it, but one of the problem which I feel as an individual, when we are talking of a multiple exit and in this system, perhaps the duration of the program as well as the, like if someone is a BTech CS and after 1 year, if he or she wants to quit, and if we want to give diploma for that, would it be meeting all the requirements of diploma, BTech in diploma as fixed by the state boards, technical boards, or whatever we feel as a university, we can give them, whatever we are teaching, based on that, we can give them a diploma?
So, in this reference, just my submission is that this is not only what we have mentioned here, that after completing first year, you will be given certificate. After completing second year, you will be given diploma. By third year, you will get degree, and by fourth year, degree with the honor. So before doing this, we will have to make all the courses in line of this NEP, and total change in the system in the course curriculum is required. So we will make sure that in first year those courses will be taught, which will enable him to get a certificate. And secondly, in 2 years, we'll make such a 2 years program that after 2 years he can get a diploma. And in third year, we'll give him those courses which are left in these 2 years. So we'll have to plan separately for first year, second year, third year, and fourth year, and then make a sandwich of this. And then the curriculum will be there. So in agriculture field, the fifth, we are following fifth Dean Committee program in this regard. But very soon we'll be doing another exercise, and this will be sixth Dean Committee in line of NAP. Because without changing our course curriculum, this is not possible, as told by respected speaker just now. Without in this present curriculum, this is not possible.
I think very correct. I think we
Total
should
change, total change is there.
it's a huge change requirement would be there.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you give multiple exit and into the student.
yeah. We'll have to make the program like that.
Yeah.
In today we have planned the program for BTech degree. We have planned the program for BSc AG degree, or we have planned the program for B.Ed degree. But finally, then there will one more point will be there. At all, in all the degrees, this will not be applicable. In some degrees, like in medical education, this will not be applicable, because that is a separate issue. So
Yeah,
that's why the legal universities they are kept aside. They are
yeah,
not
like
included.
we do have certain PCI approved programs and they are giving their own structure. Similarly, BCI is also giving their own structure.
VCI is very strict.
Yeah,
VCI,
so,
the Veterinary Council of India, is very strict.
yeah, very true.
VCI, even VCI is more strict than NCI.
Yeah.
So this for this achieving this goal, we have been given time up to 2035. So this is not a one-day program, but slowly, and wherever we can do, we should start without waiting for the instructions of the state government or the mm, central government, because because finally we are responsible for this. Nobody else, another will be responsible, and finally we have to do this. Nobody will come. No secretary will not come, and he
Yeah.
has no idea. But he can just order it, and and
Yeah.
you have to do the labor.
Yeah, very
Vice
true. At
Chancellor Saab, I
Uttarakhand,
think you said it.
at
You
Uttarakhand
said it.
University, we have already taken through Academic Council a resolution that we
Yeah,
must execute whatever we can do in the coming
yeah,
academic year.
yeah. That's good, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vice Chancellor Saab, I think you said it right. You know, the institution needs to transform itself and identify. I think when the skill development in a massive scale, when it was taking, the whole aim was one, the non-formal or the unorganized sector gets into a kind of a formal system. They are able to earn some kind of a certification. And the second phase, I think it's almost the skill development started around 10 years back, a decade back. You know, the kind of, though it was existing in a smaller way, those kind of Nehru Yuva Kendras in the rural region have been doing this, trying to say, okay, you identify some area, you get some occupation, they are able to make their living. But I think when the larger youth, the youth were dropping out, the school children were dropping out, then there was a concern: how do we engage with these children and they put back to the school? At the same time, if at all they are not keen on the bookish kind of learning, they they learn through some kind of vocation, and they are equated in terms of the formal schooling system, so that now our enrollment goes high, and the school children get interested in any of their learning system or employment system, and leading to an employment system. I think the objective at that point of time was different. I think that is true even now. At least when they get into some kind of a vocational skills or skill development, they're able to move vertically up. I think this system should be able to allow these people to move up in terms of their learning, in terms of their skills, and okay, they are able to become an entrepreneur, or in as part of some education, the technical, at least these aspects where industrial production is important. I think leaving alone the health and legal or life, the other things can really, I think, grow. There is a huge potential, at least in terms of industrial production. The kind of dynamic, the IT revolution have made the industry production. Now we are talking about all artificial intelligence and machine learning and data analytics, etc., etc. We are dealing with huge information. I think the opportunity for acquiring skills and the learners in terms of industrial growth, etc., is huge. I think the focus, I think the whole thing is towards that, rather than looking at the kind of which is going to have human interface. I think we should not, at least these, there could be some kind of pockets of excellence which can again be replicated. I think that was the entire objective and principles with which this policy has been made.
No, no,
I think
there is a point that there will be some universities which are related to only research.
absolutely correct. Correct.
Some
Yes. Yes.
universities will be multi disciplinary. But
Yes.
in
Absolutely.
my view, uh, those 4 points, those four mm, bodies to be created very soon. And the first body which has to be created and which should be implemented immediately is the Higher Education Grant Council. The
Yes. Yes.
HEC.
Correct. Correct.
Without
Yes.
money, you can't do anything.
Yes. Correct.
So first this is needed, then your accreditation, and then your regulatory
Yes.
education regulatory council, then your professional standard setting bodies.
Absolutely correct. Correct. Even, it's a very good example you have mentioned. It's important. At least there is a growing number of new universities coming up. even the existing regulatory body should think that, okay, let these new universities incorporate these values and systems, and the systems, when I say, it is either addressing the larger youth who have never been to school, but at the same time bring them to a kind of a vocational training, and then they are able to vertically grow up. I
See,
think that,
no, Dr. Chandrasekhar ji, actually what is happening is the state government is very, very interested in opening new universities,
absolutely correct.
not helping the or strengthening the universities which are
Existing,
already
yes,
there.
yes.
Okay.
Very difficult to change.
Private people, they want their own university.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
So if NEP will be there, so these all private universities which will not follow the criteria which is being set up by for the national education policy, they will be closed.
Professor, I have another, I think the policy also addresses, they have been telling about clustering of schools. I
Yeah.
would say clustering of vocational institutes or TVET institute is more important. See, because, in a state, you can say, some vocational institute was established in 1930s. Why should that institute still remain a vocational institute? Rather, they should be upgraded to a college in terms of giving its full autonomy to identify course, train them, and give an equivalent certificate. Why not? So these are the kind of, and the several of the ITIs across the one can club with them, and this college or the older ITI calling as a vocational college should be a cluster leader of. And wherever the ITI student feels, okay, मेरे को welding नहीं करना है, मेरे को अच्छा welding करना है, so I will go to the cluster lead college and learn something more and take a higher qualification.
In future, these all private schools will have a cluster, and
Yeah.
that will have a single name, one university, and these will be colleges. College of Technology, the university which is only technology.
Absolutely. Correct.
Agriculture, which is only teaching agriculture and forestry. So they all will be clubbed together if they want to survive in this
Yes.
NEP.
So will you not go and replicate creating new infrastructure? Rather,
There is
somewhere is there.
need
Okay,
of creating new universities now in India.
yes.
In a small state like Uttarakhand, 36 universities are there. Out
Yeah,
of
that's
which, 12 universities are state universities.
absolutely correct.
Yeah. There is no need of that. There is no need of that. So there should be only 2-3 universities. One basically one basically for agriculture, forestry, and this one for other subjects, and one maybe for medical and this legal aspects.
That's why I differ here a little.
But
I have been in Tokyo, and in Tokyo city there are 40 universities.
yeah,
So we cannot say our is a small state and we should not have an expansion of higher education.
no, extension is needed, but
It is very essential. Please आप सुन लीजिए पहले मेरी बात को ना, फिर आप please react करिएगा. It is very essential to give a higher gross GER. If we will not work for it, if you have 3-4 universities in a state, perhaps we will be returning to 18th century. I think we should say every city should have 10 universities to give a good competition among them, and they should use good money for that.
that is the point you told, that the good money is needed. So without money, we are increasing the number of universities, and especially state universities. The private universities, I have to say nothing, because they have ample of money to develop. So in
But we
state
don't have
universities,
any money, additional money, but we have, enough money to conduct research, to provide the facilities to the students as and when required. So I feel the expansion should be more and more so that a good competition can be there. Otherwise, one university having 1 lakh colleges affiliated like Agra University in the beginning of 20th
that
century.
is not needed. That is not needed.
And that is really not needed now, that you have 1 lakh colleges affiliated with one university. Every
Sir,
college
sorry
one
to
college.
interrupt in your nice dialogue, but I will request Pandey ji. He wanted to raise something. तो उसके बाद हम ये last intervention है. इसके बाद हम wind up करेंगे. We are 30 minutes behind the schedule. तो ठीक है. Pandey ji.
Very good afternoon, all respected. Sir, in this scenario, new education policy very important to hear the multi-exit and multi-entry position of the each year. But how can new education policy affect the research in India? Regarding the research, when you will start your research, that going to the simultaneously, suppose that the 3 year, 4 year, so how that the exit and the entry level affected are? This question is related to the Professor Dr. G. Chandrasekhar ji. Please, sir, explain it.
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Chandrasekhar, sir. Yes.
Professor Pandey, I think there was some crack in the voice and I could not. Can you just repeat once again for me to just help?
Sir, here my question is related to research. This is the in multi-stage that the entry and exit level in new education policy. That can be how that affect in the new education policy on the research in India.
Yeah, I think the new had researched the new national education policy, but the only institutional structure what they had proposed was the National Research Foundation, which will look at all granting for the research purposes. But I think in terms of the research aspect, I think we had not even. I also don't foresee, because research itself is a unique skill in terms of achieving the innovative outcomes, research outcomes. So I think that this at least in terms of skilling perspective, that has to be kept separate. I think that's a different uh, structure system altogether. The kind of while you look at any kind of learning outcomes in terms of skill qualification or education qualification, that can be defined, but while the research is a larger aspect which needs to be addressed, and the needs at that particular level is very really huge. In terms of putting that in terms of learning outcomes, skill outcomes, that is a tough. But I think the NSQF at level 10 mentions for some of the trade, not all, some of the trades, some kind of learning outcome which can be equated to it is only still telling a equated. They doesn't say about, okay, you are equal to a doctoral level, but not in terms of doctoral degree or doctoral qualifications. So that is still a point of a discussion still left there in my whole of my research and understanding.
Because that the research is always the continuous process, so it is not possible to exit and entry level.
Yes, I fully agree with you. Only thing, that's what I'm telling. If he has, okay, for example, he's a learner is enrolled for a welding program, he can see himself at welding in a larger concept. He can be equal to a kind of a doctoral program, but not essentially a doctoral unless he goes through the doctoral system. Even let it be a new education policy, national education policy, the doctoral standards are going to be defined by the respective institutions. And I think without that research skill can't be small, acquired over a period, acquired in a longer period of learning. It has to be a holistic, it has to be a very systematic, it has to be a methodological, it has to have an outcome.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
मेरे ख्याल से we can wind up now, Vinita ji, because it's time.
Sir, we are already late, sir. So we will just wind up by concluding remark from Patil sir and then formal vote of thanks. Sir, you would like to say?
I think I would skip the concluding remarks. I would just say that it was really enriching experience today, because we had a number of experts, number of participants were also more, but what is more important is that academicians were present since beginning, and it was threadbare discussions happened. It was not mere a formality kind of a thing. So a lot of new things were brought to the fore, and we had a wonderful discussion. Even the concluding discussion that we had among the experts was also a very good learning experience. I am sure, even though these states are small states, but there is level of awareness is better, as was reflected in the GER also, which was shared by Pratibha-ji. So I think you are really doing well in terms of higher education, and we at NAAC look forward to engage with all the stakeholders in both the states and in the northern region in future, so that whatever good practices are there from your region, we can spread it to the other regions, and if there are any other good things from the other neighboring regions, we can bring it to your state. So I once again thank you everyone, and for formal vote of thanks, I hand it over to Vintage.
Thank you so much, sir. So we are near the end of the program and formal vote of thanks. So before I start my vote of thanks, I would like to place on record my heartfelt thanks and sincere thanks to our director, sir, Professor S.C. Sharma ji, under whose guidance we are doing series of webinars region-wise. So this was the second program in the second series. Then we are thankful to the experts which we have from the beginning with us, Dr. Ajit Kumar Karnatak, sir, Vice Chancellor, VCSG Uttarakhand University of Horticulture and Forestry. He was there from the beginning. We are also thankful to Dr. B. Chandrasekhar, sir, who could join with us. We are thankful to our chief guest, Dr. Amarjit K. Sharma, Director Higher Education, Himachal Pradesh. We are also thankful to Professor Dharambuddhi, sir, Vice Chancellor, Uttarakhand University, who had taken personal interest and who was also there from the beginning and had played an active role in the program and during the interaction also. We are also thankful to the NEC team, Northern Region, specifically to Dr. Jagannath Patil, sir, Advisor NEC, Dr. Pratibha Singh, Deputy Advisor NEC, Dr. Shyam Singh Inda, for organizing this program. We are last but not the least, we are thankful to the wonderful participants and the attendees who were there in the program and who had made this program a great success. So once again, a big thanks to all of you, and if I have missed anybody, I would like to thank them also, because because of their presence, this program could be a success. And ICT team also has helped us a lot by conducting this program in a virtual mode. So a lot of thanks to ICT team. With this, I would like to say thank you to each one of you, and do join us for our upcoming program, which are hosted in NEC website. Thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you.
I request ICT team to please close the meeting.